They remembered my brother, but history forgot me.
They called it a cottage, but it cost a fortune.
Indeed, the market hasn't deterred them one bit. Such marvelous architecture, isn't it?
For them, luxury wasn't a dream, it was simply expected.
In 1893, one of America's wealthiest families threw a housewarming party for their new summer home. They called it a cottage. It had 28 rooms, a 3-story entrance hall, a private bowling alley, and its own burglar alarm system, features most Americans wouldn't have in their actual, year-round homes for another generation. The woman who built it wasn't the famous Morgan. She was his sister. And this is the story of the fortune she was handed, and the strange, extravagant way she chose to spend it. Everyone knew the Morgan name because of one man, a banker so powerful he once personally halted a national financial panic with his own money. But behind that famous brother stood a sister most people have never heard of, raised in the same wealth, shaped by the same family, and given her own chance to decide what a fortune was actually for. When their father, a London-based banker who had built the family's fortune a generation earlier, died in 1890, his daughter received an inheritance of roughly $3 million, worth on the order of $85 million today. Her brother would go on to use his own share to become one of the most powerful men in American finance. She had other plans entirely. Rather than compete for influence in New York, she and her husband set their sights on the Berkshires, the rolling hills of western Massachusetts that had already become a favored summer retreat for America's industrial elite. They bought a modest existing house on a quiet street in the town of Lenox. Then they tore it down. In its place, between 1891 and 1893, rose a brick and sandstone mansion in the Jacobean Revival style, designed by a respected Boston architecture firm and costing somewhere between $900,000 and $1 million. For comparison, a genuinely impressive house elsewhere in America at the time could be built for a tiny fraction of that figure. They called it, in the fashion of the era, simply a cottage. Inside, the house was as much a technological showcase as a social one, a rare combination, at the time, of both gas and electric lighting, an elevator, central heating, and a full burglar alarm system. A 3-story great hall greeted arriving guests, and beyond it sat a billiard room and a private bowling alley, built purely for entertainment rather than necessity. The house was finished by the summer of 1893, but the family waited until that September to formally announce it to Berkshire society, hosting roughly 150 of their closest friends and neighbors for an evening the local papers covered with real enthusiasm. For a few years, it was exactly the kind of house a fortune like theirs was supposed to produce. She would enjoy it for only 3 years. She died in 1896, just 3 summers after the housewarming that introduced her cottage to the world. Her husband kept the estate until his own death in 1911, and their children, having little use for the enormous property, eventually auctioned off its contents and sold the house entirely out of the family. Almost none of the original furnishings survive inside it today. In the years that followed, the house passed through unexpected hands, including, for a time, a young Vanderbilt widow renting it while her own estate nearby was under construction. By the mid-20th century, it had become an institutional dormitory, then sat abandoned for years, narrowly escaping demolition in the early 1990s. Restored and reopened as a museum, it later found a second life as a film location. And today, as America marks its 250th birthday and looks back at the era that built houses like this one, its story is getting a fresh look all over again. Entirely out of the family. Almost none of the original furnishings survive inside it today.